Welcome back to my official podcast. This is Gaurav Bayan. And look, guys, we have some very serious news coming out from the Pakistan that the New Zealand tour to Pakistan has been cancelled. The tour, obviously, the first ODI was about to play today, but the match hasn't got what you call it, the match hasn't been played, and the team hasn't the Pakistan team and the New Zealand team hasn't left to their hotels, and the tour has been cancelled now. We will get all this information from our very good guest Michael Wagner, who is all the way from the New Zealand. Michael Wagner, first of all, thank you for finding time for us. I know it's a very the timing issue has not been too good for us, but thank you for coming to my show.
Hey, you're welcome. Right. Look, what I
Yeah,
what I
so
want to say.
I just want a whole update. What has happened today? What was going on, and what is the result? So I want all the information that you have right now to share our viewers. Michael, go for it.
So here's what I understand. There was a security team from New Zealand Cricket, or hired by New Zealand Cricket, went over to Pakistan, checked out what was happening, said yes, we're happy with the arrangements that have been made. But today, earlier today, New Zealand time, the New Zealand government put out an advisory saying that they recommend all New Zealanders not travel to Pakistan, and any New Zealanders in Pakistan get out because they have credible evidence that there's imminent terrorist attacks. So at that point there, they communicated that probably in a little more detail to the New Zealand team security people. The guys on the ground said, given what we heard, we think it would be foolish to go ahead with the game, and we're going to organise getting the team out of Pakistan. So given that information, they have left, or they're in the process of leaving Pakistan, and we're not exactly sure what the arrangements are. They've said they're going to keep them secret until the team's out of the country. So we don't know much more than that, other than that there is a credible threat being made against New Zealand citizens that are in Pakistan. So there's not that many New Zealand citizens in Pakistan. That leaves a pretty obvious target there.
Yeah,
Mm,
I don't
Lucas, sorry.
I don't want to bring PC politics into this, but is this an overreaction to what happened in Christchurch? With the shooting incident, I won't get into that because I won't name the person's name or what happened. But is that an overreaction to that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think there was a terrorist attack in New Zealand about a week ago, where there was a Sri Lankan refugee who had got heavily influenced by Islamic State. Our security forces were actually following the guy. They knew that he was up to something, and they shot him within about a minute of it starting. And, from what we've heard, his victims have all survived. The only tragedy was him, or the only the only death was him. So there could be that there was a that has had an impact, but I think it's probably just the tensions that are happening in that region. And I really feel for Pakistan, because this is, in all likelihood, Pakistan is entirely, it's nothing to do with them. There's quite likely that this is a Taliban group who are wanting to get back at New Zealand for the involvement New Zealand had in the Afghanistan war, and so this was an opportunity. And Pakistan, there's only so much you can do. They've got a fairly porous border. It's pretty hard to police. You can't build a wall across the whole length of it. It's ridiculous terrain. They're doing the best they can, but in the situation where they're in, there's only so much they can do. And while they've obviously pulled out all the stops to do the security as best as they could, the fact that when the Prime Minister spoke, the Prime Minister Imran Khan had no idea about the attack and said, "Oh, our intelligence services don't know anything about it." That wouldn't have actually been very assuring to the New Zealand Prime Minister. They said, "Well, we've got a credible threat. You don't know about it. That says that you're not prepared for it." And I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Snowden, about the powers that the American intelligence services have, but the American powers that they have to spy on people electronically, a lot of that is actually run out of New Zealand. We're very good at not very many things militarily. Yeah. The only thing we're really good at is listening into what other people are doing on the internet. We're very, very good at that.
Yeah.
And so if there's chatter going on, we probably knew about it. And yeah, it's that's a point where probably you'd say there's a pretty high chance if we had credible evidence that it was credible evidence.
Why has this been so quick to react? Because New Zealand, like I said, they've actually arrived on the ground. Why is this?
Yesterday, so on the ground yesterday, but there was some evidence, some information that came out today. So it happened. It was on the briefing on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade site was released on the 17th of September, which is today. So that's why they were cleared to play as of yesterday, and then there's been a change today. So
okay,
I don't know if that's a case of over caution that they're like, oh well, we'd better act on this quickly, or if it's actually a case of being properly prudent. But you don't want to take risks. These guys aren't soldiers; they're sportsmen. They're not going
exactly.
There
yeah.
They're going there to play a game.
Yeah.
And
yes.
We love Gareth.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know this: that is there any chance that in future New Zealand will tour to Pakistan? Is there any confirmation of this series, or what has been the talk for the New Zealand?
Well, don't they have a test? Don't they have a test tour next year against Pakistan?
Yeah, and another one-day series.
Yes.
DRS organised, so this one was. They were going to be having another one anyway. There is no. This is not a decision to pull out of Pakistan for good. This is a decision about a specific credible threat in the short term. So I don't believe this is a long-term decision that we're not going back to Pakistan. I believe this is right now. This is not a good place to be until things calm down a bit.
So I think I just got this news in a couple of minutes that you may be because obviously New Zealand has just cancelled this tour about the security reasons. So it might be happening that England may also pull out of this Pakistan tour.
They may do. I mean, that will come down to their security people, what they get. England have access to the same intelligence that New Zealand has through a thing called the Five Eyes, where New Zealand, Canada, England, Australia, and the United States all share our intelligence. So England will have access to the same information. They will have the chance to assess it and decide whether or not they think it's credible and whether they think it's relevant in a couple of months' time, because it's a really fluid situation, and part of it is the uncertainty. Our government's particularly cautious about anything with uncertainty. That's why we lock down after one COVID case, lock down the whole country, because we do. That's part of how we work, is that we are quite cautious.
One final question from me. Gaurav has just said that England are touring. If England do decide to stay in Pakistan, also decide to tour in Pakistan and play their matches, is there a fear that New Zealand cricket might be put down by Pakistan or might not be welcomed back? Because we've seen backlash from high sportsman personalities like Shobi Akhtar, Pakistan journalists literally dissing New Zealand and saying that you've killed Pakistan cricket. Is that a slight worry?
Look, you've got to remember there's a difference between the people who actually know what's going on and the celebrities that make rash comments on Twitter.
Very good.
I've got a good friend who's in the Pakistan Army, and he's furious. He's absolutely fuming about the fact that New Zealand are pulling out and not trusting their army and I get it. I would be too if it was the other way around. But once there's a bit of time to cool down, I think people will see there's really no option. These guys they're not supposed to be putting their lives on the line. putting their bodies on the line of a ball hitting it, but you don't want to get in the road of a bullet or a bomb. That's not what they signed up for.
And these players are very they want to play cricket fearlessly. They don't want to be in the ground and take other kind of attention on their head and to be in this kind of a situation that we have a threat going on and all this. So we respect their decision. It is totally fair.
Yeah, as I understand, the players had nothing to do with this issue. And in fact, maybe Tom Latham might have been involved, but this was a decision made by the management of the team, the New Zealand cricket back home, New Zealand government, and the local security team that they hired, and they all agreed that it was time to go home. So, when the local security team is saying, "Look, from what you've told us, we think it's the right thing to move," that says that it's probably the right idea.
Okay, so we respect your time, Michael. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Sorry, I couldn't stay a bit longer, but hopefully that's cleared up some of it.
No, that's all good. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for coming on very short notice as well.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. It was a pleasure talking to you. Hope you have enjoyed our show. We'll meet some other days. Till then, bye. Good night. Take care, Michael. So to guys on the shorter notice, do like the video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Till then, we will meet after 2 or 3 hours once we get other news on the cricket. Till then, bye guys.